I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Bad Wolf. I'm joking. I'm Amber Churchwell.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the second part of Doctor Who, Season 15, Series 15, Season 2. The show's on Disney Plus right now. Last week we did the first 4 episodes. Today we're here to wrap up the season, episodes 5 through 8. I got to say, very, very surprising end of this season.
Well, in fairness, Justin, it would have been surprising had George not spoiled it for us.
Right.
Count your days.
I did tell him that. At work the other day. I'm like, hey, by the way, Amber says count your day. Count your days. They're very few.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was spoiled before George could tell us what was going to happen.
That's true.
I saw the information on Wikipedia. I saw it on a podcast and a headline that the headline of a podcast that I listened to. So I knew something was going to happen, but then even seeing it was very surprising. And instead of beating around the bush, obviously we're going to spoil things. So if you haven't watched the second half of Doctor Who season 2, then obviously go watch that and come back and join the podcast. But so the 15th Doctor is done. It looks like Ncuti Gatwa, his time as the Doctor is over after 2 seasons and I guess 2 rounds of Christmas specials. And I got to say, I was pretty surprised by this. I did not expect that at all. And I guess obviously Amber is the Doctor Who massive fan that we're going to obviously lean on heavily in this podcast, much like we did the first part. But Brittany, I want to start with you. What did you think about how it played out and just the surprise of that Doctor being done with the show?
The second part of what we're going to call the second part of Doctor Who, I really enjoyed every episode, right? And it kind of built on top of each other, obviously with the storyline, but then it did get a little confusing. And of course, I have questions as always. Justin does too, of course, and we're going to rely on Amber to answer those questions for us. However, hindsight is 2020. Looking back on the finale and how everything was teased and there was major foreshadowing throughout these episodes leading to the finale and what have you, it really clearly depicted that this was going to be a send-off for Doctor Who, this version of Doctor Who, our first version, Justin, of Doctor Who.
Exactly.
And I am deeply saddened by it because Ncuti was incredible. I loved watching him on the screen to be Doctor Who and for Disney Plus to add Doctor Who into their catalog and to welcome a whole new generation of fans, audiences, what have you. I was blown away by his performance and I love his energy. I loved what he brought. And I was really bummed out, of course, when George spoiled it for us in a way and said, well, y'all do know that Doctor Who regenerates, right? And it's like, thanks, George. Yes, I'm aware of that. I just didn't think it was going to happen this quickly because it does feel rather quick. But I think with the exception of certain doctors, this is kind of like a norm, I guess. They usually don't last for more than just a couple of seasons, perhaps. Not sure, but I mean, it's very sad for me. Now, with the new Doctor Who, it's very surprising in general because from my understanding, this is someone that has previously been seen before, but not in a Doctor Who way, but as a companion to Doctor Who. So I'm sure Amber has a lot of thoughts and feelings about that, as well as those out there on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what have you, wherever you are streaming us. We appreciate you being here. Consider subscribing to all of our platforms, our social media. Give us a like as well. It really helps us out. Love to hear everyone's thoughts about how this Doctor 15 has wrapped up. And with that being said, Justin, I'm very saddened, but I know Amber has lots to say.
Yeah, so let's don't belabor it anymore. Amber, what are your thoughts on the fact that the Doctor's done? We have a companion who is now going to be the Doctor. Will she be the Doctor? Has a companion ever been the Doctor? Amber, take it away. What did you think about it? Were you surprised? I'm throwing every question at you right now. So
Yeah.
answer it. Yeah.
Fine, Justin. What-
Give
I
me
know.
a second. Give me a second. So,
Yeah.
I am devastated that Ncuti did not get more time, but regenerations happen in Doctor Who. Unfortunately, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Nobody can play the Doctor forever, except David Tennant, apparently. But
Can I just say that little joke in the finale where Doctor Who is talking to a previous Doctor Who, the female Doctor Who before the new one, and says, "Oh, good, it's you," because that other guy shows up, all the time or whatever that little joke was. I thought that
yeah,
was
surprised
hilarious.
about the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great seeing 13 again. I really, really okay, I gotta go in order here.
Yep.
So Doctor Who, like regeneration is kind of just built in the blood of it because our first Doctor, the very, very first Doctor, he had he died suddenly, and they had already established that he was an alien, and they thought, oh, we've already been greenlit for more seasons. What, and we've already established he's an alien. What if we give him this ability to regenerate? And they recasted him, and that is how the first time I've only heard stories about the first time people have seen regenerations. Obviously, that happened like nearly 60 years ago. I was not alive then, but um, seeing the first regeneration must have been a shock because nobody had ever really thought or considered that. But because of that, that's actually what leads to the longevity of the show. So, um, the doctor that I experienced was the ninth Doctor with the reboot in 2005, and that is Christopher Eccleston, and he only has one season. He does regenerate at the end of his season, and I was devastated, but I also had knew enough about Doctor Who from my dad that I was able to kind of prepare for it emotionally. Um, but other than Ncuti, the eighth Doctor and the ninth Doctor are the shortest runs of any Doctor, and I wasn't expecting it to be cut so short. And the reason it was cut short was because Ncuti couldn't wait around for Disney to renew. And Disney took so long, and they were saying that they weren't going to renew Doctor Who for seasons 3 and further until they saw how season 2 did. And
Yeah.
he's a very, very popular actor right now, and he's been offered a lot of projects. So he couldn't eventually refuse that. He couldn't just sit around waiting for Doctor Who as
Right.
much as he loves Doctor Who. He couldn't wait for that. So, power to him for doing that, and curse you, Disney, for making him wait. I'm very, very upset. Um,
Curses.
well, like people have discussed that it seems really, really rushed to wrap up, and there's so many things that are left undone that a lot of us are kind of theorizing that they had planned for at least 3 or 4 seasons with Ncuti, but now we're not doing that. So
Yep.
it's really, really upsetting in general. But he does have the shortest run of any Doctor. Um, I'm very, very upset about that, and even more righteously upset about that because he's our first actor of color and with a confirmed sexual orientation
Right.
that isn't straight.
Right.
So I was very, very bitterly upset about that.
Yeah.
As for the familiar face, um, we actually have seen familiar faces before. Um, the In the 50th anniversary special, they had at the very, very end, that was currently Matt Smith was the Doctor. He was 11, and he went on to after their whole adventure for the 50th anniversary, amazing episode. There's 3 Doctors in it. It's great.
Mhm.
John Hurt plays War Doctor. We also see 10 and 11, and so it's really fun to see the Doctors interacting with each other. Um, Great. I love watching the 50th anniversary. But for the 50th anniversary day of the Doctor, at the very end of the episode when things are kind of winding down, somebody tells the Doctor that the curator wants to speak with him of the museum because this took place in a museum.
Mhm.
And the curator wanted to meet with him, and the curator was played by the actor who played the Fourth Doctor. He is much more older now, and I think he about a year or two ago celebrated his 71st birthday, if I'm right, 70th. But he is the Fourth Doctor, and that's my dad's doctor. So um, it was definitely interesting to see that. But he shows up as the curator, and he's talking to him, and it kind of seems like the 11 has a little bit of recognition, and they start talking about, and it seems like they just pick up a conversation where they left off. I don't remember it verbatim, but he does say that like you're going to go on, you're going to have more adventures, and even visit some familiar faces and stuff like that. And so a lot of people, it's kind of more fanon, like fandom canon, that the curator is the future, however many times Doctor. Like that's just him checking up on his old self kind of thing, because it's definitely not 4, because 4 never grew to be that age. So revisiting old faces would have been cool, and also with it having the definite article of the curator, it kind of was like, because how he introduced himself, the curator, before he showed up, 11 said like, I would be a great curator. He says that right before he meets the curator, so it's kind of like, oh. And he says that we would visit some familiar faces, is the important line to remember there. And then the 12th Doctor, uh, he is, oh my gosh, I am blanking on the name. If one of you guys could look it up.
I'll
I
look it
feel
up.
terrible because
Go ahead.
he's one of my favorites. I love him. He was in an episode with the 10th Doctor. He played somebody that the Doctor saved. Him, 10 and Donna they went to Greek and Roman times, like they went to Pompeii on the day that Pompeii,
Okay.
so Donna, it's one of Donna's first adventures, and she kind of convinces the doc, like, because they're like, we need to get out of here, and nobody's gonna listen. We can't mess up with time that much. Blah 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 blah. And Donna convinces them, like, if you can't save everyone, save someone. And that's a very important lesson that the Doctor learned. So he's because he was very very hurt and still wounded at the time. So for him to learn to do that and to be like, oh yeah, I might not be able to save everyone, but if I can save someone. And he saves a man and his family. And the father of the family is the same actor who played the 12th Doctor.
Peter
Um,
Capaldi.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh
there you
gosh,
go.
I feel so dumb because he's one of my favorites. I love Peter Capaldi. So Peter Capaldi has been a lifelong Doctor Who fan. He's just like David Tennant. So it was really really cool for him to be in it, and they actually addressed it when he regenerated. He saw his reflection, and he's like, why do I know this face? And he remembers, and we kind of are left to assume that it's supposed to remind him of something and teach him a lesson, kind of thing like that. So
Mhm.
it's more symbolic than anything that he revisits that face. So that's how they explain Peter Capaldi's 12 looking like a random person he saved in Pompeii.
Right.
And um as for him turning into Billy Piper, what's kind of interesting is fans are kind of theorizing that this is not going to be a full regeneration, that something else is happening, something else is going on, something bad wolf adjacent is occurring, because when a new doctor is introduced, it always says previous doctor, previous person as the doctor, and introducing person as the doctor. But
Right.
this one just said introducing Billy Piper. It
Right.
didn't say introducing Billy Piper as the doctor.
It
And her
did.
It didn't say the doctor. It
I
said
thought it did.
introducing Billy Piper. It did not say as the doctor.
but
I feel challenged. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Amber, I just want to say
Okay.
you keep saying the actress's name, but let's talk about the character. It's Rose Tyler. Correct?
Is it? Because The
No, but
problem with
that's who it's supposed to be, right? That's who we think it is. If for the people who I like, obviously, I'm a new viewer to the show, so I don't know this character besides
the
talking to you about it.
yes,
Yeah.
the problem is that what occurs is Rose isn't just okay. So Rose Tyler, her first season arc is throughout her adventures with the Ninth Doctor. They keep seeing everywhere the words "bad wolf." They think
Okay.
something is evil or bad about Bad Wolf. Like there's um, Bad Wolf graffiti on there. They go to a game thing where like a game show thing, and it's produced by Bad Wolf Studios.
Okay.
Um, everyone like there's a woman who she's a little bit clairvoyant, and when she's looking at Rose, she's kind of like, "There's something in there. There's something dark about you," and she's like, "The big bad wolf." And like the Doctor and Rose have no clue what's going on. They're a
Yeah.
little bit terrified because, like, why do we keep seeing the words "bad wolf" everywhere? What does it mean? What's going on? And uh, at Bad Wolf's station, they the Doctor at the finale gets ambushed by Daleks. They want to take over and they're going to try and kill everything. And I um and Rose, he for the safety, he puts her in the TARDIS, and he takes her back home to her Earth and her time, and he has a little hologram that's explaining to Rose, like, the TARDIS will take you home, and then it will close its doors and it will sit there forever. Like, it's not going to do anything else, because I wanted to save you. I wanted to make sure you'll be okay, because this space, the only way to stop the threat is to blow up the thing. So the Doctor is sacrificing himself for Rose and for the everybody involved, right?
Mhm.
Um, Rose sees graffiti all over everywhere on the walls and on the ground saying "bad wolf," and so she's just like, it has to mean something, it has to mean something. And bad wolf here, bad wolf there, bad wolf everywhere, what does it mean? And so she eventually is able to get inside the TARDIS, and she talks to the TARDIS and says, she begs for help to help him, to rescue him and save him. And she looks into the heart of the TARDIS, the time vortex. It's the middle glowy beautiful thing. She looks inside of it. Humans are not supposed to go inside of it. It can drive time lords insane, so it's not like humans are not meant to look into that, because
Mhm.
that input all of the powers of time and space inside of her. So she was able to pilot the TARDIS and get home. I mean, sorry, get to the space station, and she was possessed by by the time vortex. So her eyes are glowing gold. Um, she's going on and talking about, like, she's like, I can save you, because she basically just snaps, and the threat disappears.
Mhm.
She is like, and it was always a warning to bring myself here. I take the words and I scatter them across time and space, all to lead me here to save you. And so that's why Bad Wolf is everywhere. And that's why um, she was able to save the Doctor and save the threat for all of that. And time can be rewritten. She saves lives. The Bad Wolf is all powerful. And it's a little scary. It's like, it's a little too OP. But it's burning her up from the inside. It's going to kill her, because humans aren't meant to look into the time vortex, aren't meant to handle all of that.
Mhm.
So uh, the Doctor starts taking. He goes up to her and he's like, "Let me help you." He's like, "I think you need a doctor," and he kisses her, absorbing the time vortex from her, but that causes him to regenerate. So that's how we
Mhm.
get the regeneration from 9 to 10, and it saved Rose and all of that. And later on, when we do see Rose, there's situations that I'm not going to spoil if you guys ever do watch it, but they meet up in a certain spot, and he's like, "Where did we turn up?" And she said, "It's like, I can't remember the Welsh for it, but she's like, it turns out to be Bad Wolf Bay." And Bad Wolf is always there. It's always everywhere. It's always looking for you. And
Mhm.
that's usually why I choose the name for this spot as Bad Wolf, because I love Rose Tyler and I love the mythos of Bad Wolf.
Mhm.
In the 50th anniversary, it addresses the moment, which is the moment that the Doctor had to annihilate the Time Lords and all of Gallifrey and all of the Daleks on Skaro. And the moment is sentient and can appear as like a being to talk to whoever is in possession of the moment. And the moment chose to present as Rose Tyler, but saying like, "Oh, I'm something from your future or your past or something." But I think I'm known as Rose Tyler. But wait, no. In this form, I'm known as Bad Wolf. And so it was
Interesting.
Bad Wolf was the moment, and that was really cool because that was involving the War Doctor, and War Doctor was before 9. So, but timey-wimey stuff, Doctor doesn't remember, so he didn't remember seeing her.
So if I
Yes.
can interject,
Mhm.
I stand corrected. Amber is correct in saying it did say and introducing Billie Piper, not as the Doctor, but just introducing Billie Piper. So yes.
I love to hear it.
Oh God. So humble.
But
So
yeah,
humble.
so our running theory, and I like to believe this, is that because the Doctor went into the heart of the TARDIS to the time vortex to splinter realities at the end. That is what caused regeneration, was going into there. I think I don't think this is a full regeneration. I think this is just another Bad Wolf shenanigan,
Ooh.
personally.
Ooh.
We still might get a regeneration like after Bad Wolf does whatever she does, because we can't predict what Bad Wolf's going to do. I think that after that we will get another for sure Doctor,
Mhm.
or maybe even Ncuti back. Who knows? But I
Love that.
definitely, because they didn't say Billie Piper as the Doctor, I definitely think this is Bad Wolf.
Right.
But that is my theory, and I tried to keep it as short as possible.
So it sounds like what I kind of thought was it wasn't so much a passing of the torch to the next Doctor. It's more of a bridge until they figure out what's the next thing. Because
Mhm.
I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts on the 4 episodes, and we'll kind of get into. Amber has a lot more to mention. We're gonna go episode by episode. But
That
as a yeah,
that's
as
what she
a
went inside of.
oh right in there. Okay. So as a new viewer to Doctor Who, the Doctor Who world, I have to say the final 4 episodes were overwhelming for me. There's so much stuff, thrown at me, so much jargon and stuff that I don't like. Omega, the underworld, or the underverse, and
Yes.
giant mechanical spiders, and all kinds of dream worlds, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was kind of hard for me to kind of take in, honestly, and try to understand, like, okay, what's happening, what's going to happen next. But it did seem like to me that the finale was kind of uneven, and I think it probably
Yes.
was probably reshot. Having watched a
There
lot of
were.
stuff, yeah, having watched a lot of stuff and having reviewed a lot of stuff that's reshot, like Marvel and DC and all these
Mhm.
shows, like it had that feeling of like, oh, we had a plan, but now we're changing our plans, and then you kind of could see the stitching where it's like, oh, this is a new shot, and this is the
It
old
was
stuff.
for real, like,
Yeah,
actually confirmed, like, Ncuti did have to go back for reshoots,
yeah.
earlier this year, so
Yeah.
we know for a fact it was reshot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Brittany, do you have any other like overall thoughts or questions for Amber before we kind of go episode by episode?
Yeah, I mean, I was with the finale almost the entire time up until spoiler people. We've already warned you, but once again, if you haven't already watched the second part of what we call the second part of Doctor Who, episodes 5 through 8, leave now, watch them, return, and then we can have this discussion onward. I was with the finale up until the disappearance of Poppy and how she was forgotten. And like the whole doctor making that wish of wishes can never exist ever again and that sort of thing. I was again with it up until that moment. I'm like, wait, what? I just lost it after that point. I'm like, wait a minute, how could they
Yeah.
quickly forget about this child who in the finale was presumed to be the product of Doctor and Belinda. I mean, I learned this in in this season alone was that Time Lords are sterile. They're infertile. They cannot reproduce, right? They are such a superior being that they just cannot reproduce. So how is it that this was possible? And it's like, okay, fine, she's special, timey-wimey stuff. I get it. I'll accept it, right? Because at this point, like, you're not going to have an explanation for every little detail. However, we saw the child Poppy in episode 5, which was entitled "The Story and the Engine." Right when
Yes.
they're in Lagos, there's like this barbershop that has been taken over by a very powerful being, and the doctor goes to visit, gets sucked into this barbershop that he can never leave because it's also, it's in two places at once. Long story short, when Belinda goes after the doctor because she stayed behind in TARDIS, or in the TARDIS, she runs across this child who is there one minute, and then she looks away and the child is gone. And I'm like, wait, okay, well, that was a little strange, a little creepy. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little freaked out by that. But it turns out to be that this child is named Poppy. Poppy is the result of the doctor and Belinda not having any sort of relations, but here she is. And then in turn, in the very end, the child was never the doctor's to begin with. The child was Belinda's all along. And then you go back and it's kind of like recon of their conversations throughout their travels together, Belinda and the doctor, how she's like, I have to get back at a specific time because, of my child, and my mom's watching her, and then her father is this guy. And then it's just like, wait a minute, none of that happened. None of that happened. None of that happened in the real time for us. So how could the doctor have forgotten or not known, or this other reality of things? It was very confusing. And I don't know, Amber, I don't know if you're able to.
Well, let me piggyback on that. Brittany, let me piggyback on one thing, because all the things you said, that's exactly what I was going to ask Amber about. Okay, the Time Lords are sterile, but then he has this child with Belinda, right? But then there's an episode, I think it's episode 6, where he has a vision from his great granddaughter, or from a granddaughter.
No, just granddaughter.
Just granddaughter.
Okay. So how does he have a granddaughter if he can't have a daughter? I guess, okay, so just explain that part, both of our questions, if you can, together.
Short terms, layman's terms.
Yeah. I will try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Valiant effort.
Valiant effort. We love that.
I'm going to start with Susan, because with Justin's question about Susan, because that is the shortest answer I can give.
Yeah. And she's been mentioned. She was mentioned in season 1.
She was. And we have been losing our minds. So, in the very, very first Doctor, he one, at the time we didn't know to call him one, but the Doctor, back 60 plus years ago, his first companion that we ever see the Doctor traveling with was his granddaughter, Susan. And the thing is Gallifreyans and Time Lords are not sterile. This is new information for even us. And the thought here that they didn't really specify, but the thought here is a couple seasons back with 13, my lovely master, he had a crazy crash out when he learned some very important, vital information that I don't want to spoil for you guys if you do watch the show. He learns new information about the Doctor and Time Lords and Gallifrey, and he just has a crash out, and he basically bombs Gallifrey again. And when he did this, it sterilized them. That's what.
But Gallifrey had already been destroyed.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I can't.
Time Lords, timey-wimey. Got it.
There are times we never know what's going on with Gallifrey at any point in time. It could be, sometimes it's in a pocket universe, sometimes it's completely destroyed, sometimes it's locked away at the end of the universe. It shows up sporadically whenever it decides to. And always the Doctor has something to do with it. But Gallifreyans are not naturally sterile. That's very, very interesting to talk about because they were getting really, really powerful. And this is like lore from the books. So this is kind of where it gets confusing. Um, they were getting really powerful, and they did have kind of a little bit of a sterilization where they couldn't have kids. Sorry for anyone who hears the motorcycle, but there is they couldn't have they weren't having children, so they invented. Can you not? Sorry, I don't know if it's as loud to you guys, but it's very loud to
No,
me.
I don't think we're hearing it at all. So, but
Okay,
continue.
I live above a pub, everyone, and so there are some motorcycles who just rev their engines for minutes before they leave because they have small manhoods. Anyway,
I was gonna
we
say they're compensating, but there you go. Just say
yeah.
plainly. Love it.
So they were having problems conceiving. All Gallifreyans and Time Lords were having problems conceiving, so they invented looms, which combine. It's basically like Time Lord IVF, I guess. They combine genetic DNA from the great houses of Gallifrey and can weave children. That's all I'm going to talk about looms because I don't like talking about looms. It's weird. It's by 3D printing a person. I don't like it.
Yeah.
We don't like talking about looms. So there's been like conversations about that. So people were like, "Oh, is that why?" But like, some who is loom born and who is not, and but that's never been canonized in the show. They never talk about looms in the show.
Okay.
And the Doctor does have daughter, and he has talked about her. He doesn't really talk about his actual children, so we don't know names, we don't know anything. We do know about Susan though. Susan actually fell in love with another human in the future, and the first Doctor, kind of locks her outside the TARDIS and says, "Go live your life. Like, all your life you wanted a cemented home, somewhere you can be and feel safe and feel home, and traveling with me forever is not going to give that to you. So you met this guy, go with him, have a life, be free." And so we haven't seen Susan since then.
Okay.
And for years and years and years and years, every time I talked about this when we first covered the first season, in the specials, we've theorized about every time that there's a mysterious woman in Doctor Who, we're like, is that Susan or is that the Ronnie? Because those are the two people we've been like wanting to come back for years and years and years. And it kind of became a joke where we're gonna say it's the Ronnie, but it's never the Ronnie. Or we're gonna say it's Susan, it's never Susan. And we had hope with Susan Tech, with Sue Tech last season. We thought that like they played that joke thinking that trying to convince them that Susan was, the Susan Foreman.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it wasn't. It was Sue Tech. So we were kind of they pulled the rug out from under us.
Yeah.
And we do see Susan. I think she is meant to come back. My personal theory is sorry again if you guys hear the train. Believe it or not, my window's closed. But Rogue in season 1 and Anita from the Time Hotel, they have both mentioned the boss. And so did the Meep. Also mentioned the boss. Like, a bunch of people have mentioned the boss. Who is the boss? I think it's Susan.
Okay.
I don't know. That's what I'm going to think of. But he does have a granddaughter. And so the thought is that maybe but she is actually part human. Like her, we can either her parents or the Doctor's partner was a human.
Okay.
So, because she is primarily human, Susan is. But she is enough Gallifreyan and Time Lord energy that she can live to be quite long. And we don't know if she can regenerate. We just don't know yet because we never had to experience that. And that I do kind of like that they used bi-generation to be a result of the sterilization. That the sterilization was news to us. I do think that was interesting to involve that. But the sterilization is new to us. I think that was kind of just done to answer the question about why the Ronnie and the Doctor don't just.
Right. Because I think, Amber, I think I texted you at some point about Mrs. Flood, because this is someone which, by the way, I just okay, while I'm on the topic of Mrs. Flood, and we'll get back to the questions.
Yes.
I had said it in part 1, and I needed Amber to remind me because I couldn't remember if I did or did not predict who Mrs. Flood may be. I got it right. Mrs. Flood is theoretically a Time Lord, right? Or a Time Lady who
Yeah.
what did you call it?
Biogenerates.
Biogenerates.
Biogenerate. Instead of regenerate, biogenerate.
Yeah. So Mrs. Flood, that's the reason how she was always in Doctor Who's, following him about, what have you.
Yeah.
Time Lady. She splits into the Ronnie, which apparently is a major character from back in the day.
Yes.
And we got a whole new face. We had 2 new faces, apparently, with, Mrs. Flood and the Ronnie. And because I remember saying to Amber at some point in one of the episodes, I'm like, is Mrs. Flood the Doctor's daughter or granddaughter? I was just like, is this how it makes sense? Why is she so important in following the Doctor everywhere that he goes? And she's like tracking the Vindicator and all this other stuff. And I was just like, I needed to make it make sense. And I think it was the episode where it was the Interstellar Song Contest, because she was like also getting like readings and what have you. And then I'm like, oh, she gone. With all those other people who were in attendance for the song contest, like they all just kind of like go up into space and they freeze, and it's like, oh, they gone. Like they all gone. Except the Doctor, naturally. But I thought that was an interesting way of, because we saw that happen with the Doctor, right? When we got David Tennant's character, then he splits, and then it's Ncuti, and it was just like, oh, okay. I had no idea what to expect, let alone that. But then you see it happen with someone else who you may not expect to be a Time Lord or Time Lady, and it does. And it's like, oh shit, now we got 3. Like theoretically, we have 3 in one sitting. But then it goes back down to just 2, because
I'm very upset.
The Ronnie is eaten by Omega, which we'll get to talking about that as well. But I mean, overall, like I said, I was following the story. I understood more or less what was happening. There's pockets here and there that's like, what? But the finale was just like, it was just crazy to me. And it's like, well, how can Poppy be his child if he's supposedly sterile, which we just learned is new information to Amber, as well as other longtime Doctor Who fans. But then the fact that the Doctor made this like lasting wish from the baby, who is a god of is it the god of the pantheon, the god of wishes or something like that? Okay.
Yeah.
This baby who was plucked at a time, who was the 7th son of the 7th son, and the Ronnie came to find the baby and like just transformed all the family members and what have you. Bizarre, by the way. But then it was just like, so the Doctor's wish is to take away all wishes? And therefore, perhaps his own wish of actually maybe having a child with Belinda? Like, what?
Well, a lot of people have a lot of problems with it too, because so Poppy was wished, because also, mind you, Poppy is the same actress as Space Babies. That's Poppy. So she is entire. She's not.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's Captain Poppy. And so what happened was the wish, Conrad's wish, because Conrad is a traditional dude, and he thought, all like can't have disabled people, can't have non cis het women, like people, like he didn't like that the Doctor obviously is gay and stuff like that. So obviously Conrad's wish world is going to be a traditional marriage between a man and a woman with a child. And so but Poppy was pulling from to make sense, and then also pulling from the Doctor's memory to create Poppy from Space Babies. So Poppy was never real and not supposed to be real. And I'm actually really mad that they and a lot of people are mad too, and people agree with my standpoint that Belinda was kind of screwed over in this, because she was an amazing woman with her career, and she never once, and like she went from, in the first episode, chewing out the doctor for taking her DNA without her consent and being like, I need to get home. I have a shift in the morning. I have things like that,
Mhm.
like to being a career woman to being exactly what Conrad's wish world wanted.
Yeah.
They had the doctor alter her timeline, alter her reality so that she is just a contented wife and mother. And that is really, really, really upsetting because, oh, yeah, her life is all happy now because she has a baby. And it's like, no, what happened to the Belinda who couldn't remember about the birth of her child? And so what felt weird and she ran out into the woods and screamed.
But okay, so on that point,
I had
and
problems.
just yeah, and Justin, you could probably weigh on this too, because at that point, because Ruby was like, I love that we got Ruby, of course, in this season as well.
Yeah.
Ruby was talking about how she obviously remembers Poppy. No one else remembered Poppy after the events of the wish and what the doctor, wished away. She is, quote, glitched. And this is the explanation as to why she can recall these things that no one else can. And there's some sort of logic that is said, and I just can't recall it off the top of my head. But basically, she was just saying, there is Poppy somewhere out there alone, presumably alone, right? And she needs to be found. She needs to be cared for. She needs to be loved. Long story short, is it alternate universes at this point that we're kind of dealing? Are we kind of tapping into like the Marvel world where there's multiverse? There's still the same characters, but they have different realities and in different multiverses of
Yeah,
things.
basically.
Okay.
It's kind of, instead of being it multiverses, it's just alternate realities,
Yeah.
just different verbiage. It's like a reality slightly to the left. Like they
Right.
changed her reality, and I have so much problems with it because she had the shortest run of any companion as well.
Yeah.
And she is an amazing woman of color and a wonderful thing. And she spent the finale locked in a box with a child while the white companion Ruby is over here doing all the rescuing and saving things. That's upsetting. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing with Shuti's regeneration. I'm really upset that he didn't get armor regeneration, because regeneration is very, very special to the person who plays the doctor. Like, all doctors have had amazing, beautiful speeches. I cry every time that there is a regeneration. I didn't cry here because I didn't have a heartfelt speech.
Yeah.
And I was almost crying because we saw 13, but again, like, Shuti had to share his regenerate his bi-generation with David Tennant, who we love David Tennant, and I love the David Tennant very much so, but it's not fair to him that he didn't get a proper regeneration. And then he didn't even get a proper regeneration closeout either because he had to share his little speech thing with 13, which I love 13. Good for you. Because I love the 13th Doctor, but they gave her horrible scripts. Amazing performances, horrible scripts, horrible plot writing, the things that they did for the 13th Doctor. A lot of people hated it,
Mhm.
but I like her and respect her because she did an amazing job with what she was given, which wasn't a lot. And it wasn't fair that he had to share that with that. And then Billy Piper, who's just a fan favorite and just using for nostalgia pampering. I'm very, very upset at how the people of color were treated in this season, in this finale.
Yeah,
It's
and
just very upsetting.
I think that not only did he get a short run, but also I think both the companions, but neither one of them got a great send off. I mean,
Yeah.
what was Ruby
He didn't.
Sunday's send off? I don't even remember it. Like it was like she was like,
Well, she
okay,
got her
bye.
mom. She found her mom.
Yeah. She got
Yeah,
her
but
mom, and she got an I love you and unrequited I love you, whatever, from the
yeah,
doctor. That's kind of echoing Rose, whatever. And then going to but even then, like, after he goes to alter reality and save Poppy, whatever, he doesn't go back and say bye to Ruby.
yeah.
No.
Like, I have so many problems.
Yeah.
See,
Like I
that makes
said,
me think. Go ahead, Brittany.
I was just gonna say, like I said, I was with this whole season. I was with the finale up until that point. I was just like, this kind of fell apart, in my
Hmm.
personal opinion. I'd love to hear the other longtime Doctor Who fans out there who are tuning in. either on the live chat or the rewatch. Like, leave your comments. Let us know your thoughts and feelings about how season 2 with the 15th Doctor played out. Are you good with it? Do you have issues? Like, let us know.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see these characters at least come back to officially pass the
Yeah.
torch at some point.
And I'm
whenever.
just also mad that we had all of this building up to the Ronnie,
Mhm.
all this build up for 2 seasons and for the Ronnie, and then we didn't, and we got her for like 2 episodes,
But
and then she got
but
eaten.
but Mrs. Flood escaped with the
Yeah.
time, whatever the bracelet little thingy is. So, but
The
is she
white
still
generation escaped.
Yeah, I got that. But like, is she still considered the Ronnie?
Technically, yeah, but we
Okay.
don't know if bi-generations like that can regenerate.
Ah, good point.
So who knows? And I'm upset about that because she got like what? She was eaten by Omega in 30 seconds, and even then, Omega, he got nothing. Like,
Yeah.
Omega is really, really interesting to talk about, and I have notes to talk about him whenever we do get there. Who knows?
Well, I
when we
mean,
do, but
I just say let's go ahead and talk about the Ronnie, because I've got some visuals here that Amber has so generously provided to us
oh,
of the Ronnie in maybe, I guess, the first appearance. And then you
mhm.
get Mel, who is very, very big hair. My goodness, like that is a style. And then I guess Amber too,
The
you also
Doctor, yeah.
provided right, the Doctor with them. But then also in this bottom right corner, if you're watching here on YouTube, is this supposed to be Omega?
Yeah,
The one in armor? Okay.
yeah, and honestly, he's only wearing the armor because uh the Underverse Void, whatever, every time he shows up, they call it something different. So whatever. Wherever he's been trapped in has just decayed his body and eaten him away, that he doesn't really exist anymore. So he
Mm,
kind of just phantom puppets this armor. But yeah. The thing with Omega is Omega is considered one of the founders of Gallifrey, turning
right.
Gallifrey from just like a simple people to being time travelers. Him and Rassilon, who was mentioned by the Ronnie in the episode because it was the symbol of Rassilon on the door to the Underverse. Um, Him and the other are considered founders uh, of Gallifrey. It's what founders of Time Lords. Because just because you're Gallifreyan doesn't mean you're a Time Lord. You have to go to the Time Academy. I don't want to get into it, but all Time Lords are Gallifreyans. Not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords. I guess
Got
that's
it.
the shortest way to say it. But the Omega and Rassilon were friends most of their lives, and they together invented space and time travel, and so they're what got uh, got the Time Lords to be, all powerful beings in the universe. And Omega mostly focused on the science and such like that. He eventually was driven insane in Cuckoo Cuckoo, and it is rumored that Rassilon had him killed or
Oh,
had him trapped in the Underverse. You can't kill a Time Lord; they come back like cockroaches. Um, and Rassilon is also been killed apparently, but we've dealt with him many times at least in New Who. We've seen him several times, and the other we don't really know anything about too much about the other. There's even theories that the Doctor is the other, but the other is just like a mysterious figure that kind of just came in, gave advice, and then just disappears, and comes in and gives advice and just vanishes. So the other is a mysterious figure. Who knows? Um, and then there's also Tecteun, who is the adoptive parent of the Doctor, and Tecteun is who gave Time Lords the ability to regenerate. So that's Omega, and kind of the interesting way to describe that. But he's one of the founders of Gallifrey, and so the Ronnie, she actually went to school to the Time Lord Academy with the Doctor and the Master. They are childhood friends, and she's had to deal with their shenanigans many, many, many times. But she's a biochemist, so she is actually a renegade Time Lord. The reason she escaped the massacre on Gallifrey is because she was uh, banished from Gallifrey because one of her genetic experiments ate the president's cat. And
Good enough reason.
yeah, she likes to she doesn't have any morals. She is very much just like science driven. She doesn't care who or what she harms in this pursuit of science. So she does do genetic experimentation on humans, humanoids, time lords, anything and everything. Dinosaurs, she likes dinosaurs. That's why those spider looking things look like dinosaurs. Um she's she just likes to do experiments. She's a scientist. We love women in STEM. So she when that's what she's all about.
Yeah.
And I guess the theory here is that she wants to bring back Omega because she thinks that will help bring back the Time Lords.
In her own image, and she can rule and
I
however
guess.
she wants because she
But
was
she
done
doesn't
so dirty. I don't know.
but she's never cared about that before. She's
Mm.
just a scientist trying to do her job. But I mean,
So they
granted, she goes a
made her
little cuckoo
sound
too.
like a.
But
They just made her sound like a woman who's seeking revenge and running on emotions.
You want to
I
know what she
guess.
sounds like? I'm not
Mm.
kidding. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm wearing a Superman hat, Superman shirt for the Superman movie coming up, right? But the previous Superman movie called Man of Steel, there's a character named General Zod. You might be familiar with him, and his character has the same motivations as the Ronnie does in one of the episodes where she wants to
Yeah.
recreate Gallifrey just like he wants to recreate Krypton. And then, I mean, even like the way she sounds, it's like almost not word for word, but very similar. So I just want to
Yeah.
sprinkle in some like Superman like kind of tie-ins to Doctor Who.
You just needed a reason to show off your attire,
Oh,
Dustin. That's
no,
all that was
and
about.
hey, and in we can go through these episodes, but like in the first episode that we're talking about today, episode number 5, which is titled "The Story in the Engine," we get a reference to it's taking place in 2019, which we know is when Avengers Endgame hit theaters. And we get the Doctor mentioning how he watched all the Marvel movies up until Endgame, which I thought
Yeah, you're right.
was worth noting. Which I hear Marvel stuff, I hear superhero stuff, and I'm like,
It's
oh.
Disney. They can do it.
Well,
know?
no, I mean, yeah,
They can.
I mean, they can reference anything they want, but I did appreciate that reference. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just I was like I mentioned a bit before is that Doctor Who fans for generations since the 80s because the Ronnie we only see her in 1985, 1987 and 1993. And those are the only times that we've seen the Ronnie. And
right.
she was again played by this actress and so for years since then we've been waiting and saying for years and years and years every mysterious woman is that the Ronnie? Is that the Ronnie? What about her? Is that the Ronnie? If it's not the Ronnie, it's Susan. We've been saying it for years that we were just like, it's never the Ronnie. It's never Susan. We're just deluding ourselves. And then now that we got the Ronnie and we got a Susan at the end of Interstellar Song Contest, we got both of them in one. Like there's so many. Somebody did like that. A bunch of memes where it's just like, well, what do I do now? I got what I wanted. What do I do?
Now
Like,
what?
Yeah,
what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Yeah, like I finally got what I wanted. Now what I do? And I feel that because I'm very much like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I don't know what to guess now with the Ronnie. And but yeah, it's very, very interesting seeing how things are handled. But yeah, they did alter her a little bit. I I don't know. I did like that she got to see Mel again. I thought that was kind of interesting because a lot of people have weird like shipping behavior with them. I don't see it, but a lot of people do ship with Mel and the Ronnie, and so that whole conversation of like, I haven't thought about you one bit since that was like you've thought about me every day. That was
but bum.
yeah, like it's just like, oh, okay.
Okay. All right. I can sense the charge behind that, the spicy behind that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
the Ronnie does mention that her and the Doctor were some people rumored that they were lovers. That's new information for me. Because they just grew up together. But I do think because the
Friends
Ronnie
experiment.
does have She does have red or black nails, depending on which time we see her. And we, at the end of the episode, the giggle, the master was kept inside of a tooth by the master, by the toy maker. And when he was defeated, that tooth was picked up by a woman with red nails.
Oh, that's
So-
right.
Yeah. So
That's
part of me was
right.
like, where's the master?
Okay.
Like, if that's the Ronnie who took him, where is the master? I love the master. I need to know where he is. There were theories galore when we saw Mrs. Flood and we saw the Ronnie and we saw Conrad. I'm sorry, I almost wanted to call him Chad. When we saw
The Chad.
Conrad, like they were doing. When we saw like clips, promos for this finale, we saw the three together. So many people were theorizing that she was going to somehow have the master possess Conrad. And I would have massively preferred that. But I don't know.
Yeah. Why does Conrad get a happy ending? Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was weird. That was
That
very
was
strange.
but like, isn't that also how life works at times? Like you do the bad thing and then somehow you end up having a happy life that no one thinks twice about. Listen, the correlation to real life events that's happening.
Well, it's also just reinforcing that even the really, really mean bad guys can be saved if they just had a dad.
Oh,
Like, dude, like
Damn.
nobody.
Yeah.
Because Ruby
Damn.
talks about that. She's just like I know you didn't have a relationship with your mother or whatever, blah blah blah, but like you didn't have one with your father and stuff like that. So it's kind of just reinforcing that, like, these guys are so horrible, and it's just like that's the excuse that nice guys use all the time for being horrible. Is like,
listen,
oh, I wasn't hugged enough.
I know plenty of people, specifically men, who grew up without a father, and they're just fine. They're just
Exactly.
fine. Accept your choices. Take responsibility for your actions. Fuck up, buddy.
So I don't know. I have a lot of hurt and a lot of problems, but so many problems.
Yeah. Let's go to the live chat real quick. Let's see this shout out to people that are in the chat, always supporting us. We got King B Johnson. Appreciate you being here. Got McDorks is here. Appreciate you being here. Yep. It was Yesenia Martinez. Always thanks to Yesenia. I noticed she always shares our links to our podcast on X,
Thank you.
Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. So appreciate everybody for joining us. We are doing our best to understand Doctor Who this final season, which I thought was pretty complicated for a very casual watcher.
I'm trying.
Oh, there we go.
And also Mama Churchwell.
Hi,
She's
Mom.
here. She says, hi, Justin, Brittany, and Amber. Very interesting. You guys doing a great job. Love you. Nim nim. That's sweet.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm also Yesenia, like trusted. They haven't seen classic Who, and so they're learning it from watching
They
this.
know nothing.
If you are interested in Doctor Who, there are a few places that you can start because this show is 60 plus years old. I recommend starting from my personal favorite, where I started, which is the Ninth Doctor. That is the reboot. It started in 2005, and there's 13 seasons on Max. If you have Max available to you, I recommend watching those, but that's 13 seasons, and that's the Doctors 9 through 13. This that we are discussing and that all Brittany and Justin have seen is Doctor Who from the 14th Doctor and the 15th Doctor that we have seen now.
Yeah.
And that is because they did a soft reboot on Disney Plus. So if you have Disney Plus and not Max, totally acceptable because this is a soft reboot. You should be able to just start off with what's on Disney Plus, which is seasons 1 and 2 and some holiday specials for the 60th anniversary. And yeah, if you are interested, it's totally fine to lurk if you're not.
Also, go follow Amber on her Instagram and her YouTube and chat her up with all things Doctor Who. She will get you caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you ask me something about Doctor Who, I'm going to be like, Doctor what? It's happening. You know, like especially with what happened in this finale episode. But so we've kind of gone over a lot of the stuff from the 4 episodes that we're here to talk about today. Let's kind of
Yeah.
hit some like notable moments or some favorite lines or favorite things that happened. And I'll start off by in the story in the engine, which is episode 5. It's I mean, crazy story where there's a barber shop involved, and like I guess barbershops are commonly places where stories are shared, and the doctor gets trapped inside, and there's this story engine, this god killing monster that's like it's like a
It's a spider.
spider. And I like how the I can't remember the character, but it says the character says that they named the giant spider the Nexus. It's that I used to call it the World Wide Web until humans named it something uglier. So humans get like once humans took over, the internet basically, that's when they decided to change the name to the Nexus. So that was something I kind of enjoyed about
Mhm.
that episode. Brittany, is there anything from that episode that you want to highlight?
I mean, overall, I thought it was a really interesting storytelling. I mean, the title itself is called "The Story and the Engine," and
Yeah.
stories drive people, right? And stories are shared from generations to generations. And I don't know why. I'm going to do it again. I'm so sorry. Every single time I always reference Game of Thrones. And it's like who Peter Dinklage. Sorry. Oh my God, what's his name? Peter Dinklage's character in Game of Thrones. Tyrion. Jesus. One day I'm going to get it. Tyrion at the very end of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Who has a better story than Bran the Broken? I'll tell you, Tyrion, Doctor Who. Okay?
Yeah,
Way better
thank
story.
you.
He should have been king of the 7 kingdoms at this point. Like, come on. Let's make it happen. He had great storytelling, and then the fact that the difference between the stories being told of those trapped in the barber shop, including the original barber, Omo, compared to the barber, the godlike person who took it over, is that their stories were more illustrations, animated, that kind of thing, whereas the doctor's stories were real, right? They were 3D. They were just very real, right? And that was really cool. I thought he was going to tell like a story that was so incredibly personal that like no one, not even longtime Doctor Who fans, would have like ever seen it coming. But for it to be about Belinda, and I was like, oh, he's in like with her. Like he's really in like with her, which then hindsight, the whole Poppy storyline kind of makes sense, because if he was wishing that maybe he had a child with Belinda, the result would be Poppy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it laid that foundation of the Poppy storyline, right? Because it's in this episode too that we saw the glimpse of Poppy, or AKA Space Baby. But
Captain Poppy.
Captain Poppy, she was adorable. But it was Belinda who saw her daughter, quote unquote. And yeah, it was really interesting to hear that like the barbershop was still stationary in Lagos, and also on the back of the spider, that its fuel was stories and it needed to keep going in order to reach its destination. And eventually it blew up, and now the person, the barber who was cutting hair and taking all these stories, he's like, well, what am I going to do now? And it's like, dude, you did a bait, what do you call it? A bait and switch with the daughter of the god that you were like trying to get back at, or something or other. It was an interesting story. I'm just not telling it well. Obviously, I'm not a great storyteller. The irony behind that. But I enjoyed the episode. I really enjoyed the episode, just because the fact that for the doctor in this, with this face, right? He said, this place, the country, the people, they're accepting of him, because obviously he's a person of color, and you saw how warm and welcoming everyone was towards the doctor. And he's just like, this is one of these places that I feel like I can belong, which I guess it was also kind of maybe a nod to Ncudi's like heritage. Like, I don't remember if he specifically is born in Africa and then raised in Scotland, or his parents are immigrants from Africa who moved to Scotland, and then that's where he was born. I can't remember the details, but I thought it was a nice nod regardless.
I have a fun little tidbit too, is Doctor Who fans like me were kind of screaming when he was because when he was trying to figure out what that screen was that was depicting the stories. When he was trying to figure it out, he starts like listing off bad guys that he's visited and stuff like that to kind
Weeping
of like list
Angels.
them. Yeah, he mentions weeping angels, but remember when I taught you guys about weeping angels last week? Is any image of an angel becomes an angel. My love, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like, the second he's
Desperation. I mean, come on.
and also that does bring up a little bit because he did mention Daleks and Cybermen as well, and that does bring up a sad fact that there are three main villains that almost every single Doctor has experienced at least one of them, and Ncuti didn't see any of them. It was there's the Master, there's Cybermen, and there's Daleks. Those are the three main bads that the Doctors experienced many times. David Tennant has done them all, but Ncuti didn't get any of them.
Aw. So sad.
Yeah.
Is there anything else from this episode, Amber, you want to talk about before we move on?
Not necessarily, no.
On to the next episode. Episode 6, titled The Interstellar Song Contest. And this is like a kind of a take on the Eurovision Song Contest. It's a wacky storyline. We get the reference to the granddaughter, Susan Foreman. But Brittany, I want to go to you because there's a celebrity cameo in this episode. And this person, you have sent me many a clip of Graham Norton. He makes an appearance in this episode. What do you think about that? And Amber I'll let Brittany talk first, but has Graham Norton been a part of this world before, or is this kind of just a cameo? No. Okay.
No. I'd imagine everyone across the pond would want to be on Doctor Who in one way or another.
Has been. Yeah.
Or has
yeah,
been,
most have
right.
been.
I mean, okay, let's just actually be serious for a second. You think of how many celebrities, actors, entertainers are here in the United States, right? It's huge. It's a huge population. Whereas if you talk about those who are from a much smaller island, that is England, Scotland, and across the little water over there is Ireland. You have a much smaller population of actors and actresses and what have you. So I'd imagine that for them, and seeing a show that's run as long as Doctor Who has, they're like, yeah, the pinnacle of my career would be to make an appearance on Doctor Who in one way or another. And I think that's fabulous. And I love Graham Norton. I love him. I love him. Love him. I think he's entertaining as hell. And he has just this charisma. And even as a hologram, he was wonderful. And I was just like, that's Graham Norton. Oh my God. But he's in a museum, which then is like, okay, why is he in a museum? Like, what happened? What happened to Earth? Like, what is going on?
It is like 800 plus years in the future.
This is also fair. So that being said, I loved it. I think it's great that, entertainers and celebrities of such from the UK have the opportunity to make a small cameo on Doctor Who. If they can't do it on Game of Thrones or maybe House of the Dragon at this point, because those are two huge shows out of there, why not Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Or Downton Abbey?
Yeah. So many characters have been there. I mean,
so many.
Karen Guillen, she's obviously you guys know her as like Nebula, but like she's a companion for multiple seasons. Like
I've heard about that,
there's so many different things. Obviously Matt Smith, but as the 11th Doctor. What's really funny is actually Graham Norton's actually done interviews with every single person in Doctor Who multiple times. Like he does Doctor Who interviews all the time, and it's always a fun hoot. It's great. It's wonderful. I love him, and I got really, really excited when he showed up.
I thought it was a nice little cameo, of course, but I was actually more interested with the characters from Helia, this planet Helia, and then the character the kid. There was an inside job of taking over the broadcast of this major song contest, and one of the hosts has been on freeze for quite some time, and I like how he walked out and he's just like, okay, what year is it? Like, what am I doing kind of situation. I was just like, because that's what you do at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Just quick brief, and then just let me smile and go.
Yeah, and
I
I
love
think Graham's hologram even says too. He's like, I really wish I hadn't sold my image in perpetuity, but okay. And it's very, very funny. It was a
there
fun episode.
there are
Beautiful too.
actors out there. There are actors out there who have put clauses in their contracts that, hey, you can't use my image or anything I say or any outtakes after I die. See Robin Williams. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As Amber mentioned a second ago, this episode takes place in 2925, I believe.
Mhm.
And to go back to Grant Norton briefly, he delivers the news that is very important to the story of the season, that via his hologram announces that the Earth ended on May 24th, 2025. So that is
Mhm.
also very
Bum,
crucial moving
bum.
forward.
The day that Belinda left.
Yeah. Amber, is there anything else from this episode that you want to highlight?
Well, this is where we get the Ronnie and we get
Right.
Susan. So Susan, the actress who plays Susan, she actually did speak up. I saw interviews with her after this episode came out because obviously they kept the secret. It was a surprise. She helps the doctor because the doctor does get sucked out into space, and she like, grandfather, you have to wake up. Grandfather, you have to wake up, and she's in the TARDIS, and we get like little clips of her and such like that, and I about lost my mind, trust me. And then when we got the Ronnie, I again lost my mind because I was like I said, we've been waiting for this for years, and we've kind of just deluded ourselves that we're never going to get it, and
Yeah.
we finally got both of them at once. And it was a little shocking and wonderful and amazing. But the actress said that she went to the premiere for I think the season finale or I don't remember which one she went to, and she had the opportunity to meet Russell T Davies, and he asked her, like, they hugged and they embraced and stuff like that, and they're talking, and he asked if she would want to return, and before he even finished his sentence, she's like, yes. So that's exciting, but I really wonder where that's going. Where are we going to get more of her? That's why I think that
Yeah.
the boss that everyone's referencing might be Susan. Because he works for works for the boss, and he apparently goes through time and space as a bounty hunter. And then we have the Time Hotel with Anita, and she also says the boss. So it's kind of Time Hotel. Maybe it has something to do with Susan. I don't know, but that's my theory. And we also, Brittany and I talked about it when she was watching it. We were texting as she was watching it that the doctor does get a little violent in this, and this is our Time Lord Victorious, the oncoming storm. I've seen this doctor many, many times, this side of him, because he does get triggered by the genocide of his people often. And I have like gifts from the Ninth Doctor that I can send you guys because he meets a Dalek, and the Daleks are part of the reason that the Time Lords were massacred. And he had to say, like, he was like talking with the Dalek, and the Dalek needed orders and such like that. And he's like, "Oh, you want an order? Kill yourself." Like, he's violent, and he is. We've seen it, and he's called the oncoming storm. Like, we've seen it. Rose jokes about it at one point, and I thought it was amazing to see Ncuti that way. But he also doesn't. Ncuti doesn't learn what the Hellions are up to. He doesn't know that it's because of
Mm-mm.
he thought that the Hellions were just going to kill these billions upon billions of people watching the show.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that this is counteractive for their people already being massacred. So he did result. I think it's also to show trauma. Hurt people. And it's very, very interesting. Again, like what we said, but I thought it was very, very interesting. That's all I kind of wanted to mention is
Yeah.
the other side of the doctor that you guys haven't seen before until this. So I wanted to see your reaction to it.
We have not seen that. You're right. Moving on to episode 7, Wish World, which is the very strange episode where we open on May 23rd, 2025. The doctor and Belinda wake up, and they're now a married couple, and they have a daughter. the aforementioned Poppy, and it's a very strange world. And it looks like this Conrad Clark character that we met in episode 3 or 4. I can't remember. 4, yeah.
4. Mhm.
He is now like basically reading these stories to people. He's like the source of information for the whole world now. It's a very strange episode. Brittany, is there anything you want to highlight from this one?
Other than it being a strange episode where it's kind of very 1950s,
Yeah.
1960s, like, oh, everything's well and, whatever, and everything's great. And you can't have any doubts in this world, because if you have a doubt, then you have what's called like a slip. And the mugs, for example, the coffee mugs, like slip through solid surfaces and break, and people are like, oh, like I guess it's meant to be more of like a visual reminder that, oh, you're having doubts, and if you have doubts, they'll come and get you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
God, the parallels of what's happening in this current state of affairs, right? You speak out against the wrong. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
What I did actually enjoy with this episode too was Jonathan Groff's character makes a very quick reappearance on the television to kind of speak to the Doctor. Because remember in season 1, and I can't remember his name, but in one of the Rogue. Thank you. Rogue. Rogue and the Doctor like had a moment, of course, in season 1, and we love that. And how Rogue is pleading to the Doctor about just kind of like waking up and check your surroundings and this and that, what have you. Again,
tables don't do that.
Tables don't do that. Like, and the Doctor's trying to figure out. First of all, the Doctor is under the influence that his name is John Smith. Very apropos when you have no idea what your name is, right? It's either John Doe or John Smith.
That's his human nickname. That always is. He always says John Smith.
Okay. So yes, John Smith, married to Belinda. They have a child named Poppy. He goes and works at Unit, but it's not Unit. It stands for something completely different. And I mean, all these characters that we have met in one way or another are seen in this episode, but they're not in the state that we normally see them in, right? You have is it Shirley who's in the wheelchair. She apparently is homeless because she's disabled, along with the others who are disabled and are not deemed to be part of the rest of the community because that's not part of Conrad's wish world, right? Then you have like these bone structures, dinosaur looking creatures that just roam the earth, and it's like, oh, it's okay, it's perfectly fine. Strange episode to say the very least.
Yeah.
However, it was an entertaining penultimate for me personally, because when you see the reveal of the Ronnie with the split, you finally understand why Mrs. Flood has been following the Doctor, and then she's obviously been involved as a neighbor with Ruby and Belinda, right? And I still don't fully understand why they were significant, other than just being the companion to the Doctor. Like, who could have plucked that out of and just known that? But okay, timey-wimey, I'm just gonna let it go. But
yeah.
but I mean, you start getting some answers to things that have been lingering for the duration of this season. And that penultimate was really great because it looked like the Doctor might meet his end, and he didn't.
And then
it was
Omega.
really cool.
Omega.
Yeah, Omega was creepy. I'm not gonna lie, but that was in the finale. But I mean,
For
this
all
is
30 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. This is technically like a part A and B of a finale, I guess you could say. And it's just, it was, yeah. Also, F Conrad.
Oh yeah.
If I haven't already said it, I'm gonna say it again.
I think like they were trying to do some weird stuff, like with the Conrad telling the stories, and also him telling Desiderium, the god of wishes, and stuff like that. Yeah. Telling him all of the different, like telling him, and because he is the god of wishes, he's able to, like, whatever Conrad says will be. Like, that's kind of the thought. And but then it also Conrad says to Mrs. Flood, like, if I lose concentration even for a minute, I'm exhausted because like then there's a flood and like or there's a tsunami or whatever because I'm not concentrating on the weather. It's really tiring and stuff like that. It's like, okay, so is it Conrad or is it the delirium?
Mm-hmm.
Like who? What is I don't have answers here.
Yeah.
Also, we assume that she needed that the Ronnie needed the Vindicator to open the Underverse, and that's why she's been following them around. But then why does she need the doubt? Because that's what they created the doubt for, and the slips and stuff like that is to create doubt. Why do
Yeah.
we need that if like why did they leave that if they can't if she has the Vindicator? I don't understand. And
Yeah. This is where things started falling apart a little.
and I again, like they could have done so much more interesting stuff with the Ronnie or Omega, or even bringing back the Master into this, but they just didn't. And we get them. It's a little ridiculous that like I still had to, but by the time that the Ronnie and the Master, sorry, not the Ronnie and Omega were defeated, we still had 20 minutes of the show left. I was like, what is happening here? And
We
it's
just have
because
to
of
fill
the
time.
it was with the Poppy reality altering stuff that just is upsetting. And
Yeah.
also I have problems with the how the Doctor defeated Omega because with turning
With
the
the Vindicator.
into a gun, because the whole like I have pictures if you have that PowerPoint up still.
Do.
The sonic screwdriver is it's a screwdriver. Like these first images, these are the sonic screwdrivers throughout time. And then on the other side, we have that photo of Shuti's, the 15th Doctor's sonic screwdriver. The Russell T Davies excuse for changing the shape of the screwdriver into like this more remote control thing was to make it because he didn't want it to look like the Doctor was holding a gun. And even though like you like I have a pen here, you point it like the sonic screwdriver is like that. It's not like a
Yeah.
gun. It doesn't make sense.
Because
So
these other screwdrivers or sonic screwdrivers all look like the hilts of a
Lightsabers.
lightsaber.
yeah. And so we get sonic screwdrivers, and then he changed it to look like that because he wanted it not to look like the Doctor had a gun. But then to defeat Omega, he uses the Vindicator as an actual gun. I don't. What do you mean?
I love it.
I'm so at a loss for it. So that was my
Do as
one
I
little
say,
tidbit.
not as I do.
Yeah, like that was my one little tidbit of why I wanted to include those photos for you guys,
No, that's
because
great.
like what the hell do you mean? I'm so lost, and I am very, very upset that we had all of this build up for not much, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think the ending of the finale was a reshoot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Because even
Well-
like when he goes to see Belinda and Poppy in the alternate universe where Belinda is a mom, she works nights, but she's not with the baby daddy, but they make it work, what have you. Her mom like helps with watching Poppy, but has to leave to go to Manchester for her thing, whatever. Like, and Belinda's content with that. She's a single working mom. Okay, good for her. You know, like there are millions of other women who do that.
Yeah.
Every day, obviously. Like, good for you. Like, we love that. We support that. But I do see Amber's point about taking that story and changing it to almost still fit like the Conrad sort of ideal way of life of what a woman's life should be and what have you,
Yeah.
which is so old school. But that whole sequence right there with the Doctor and like him being disappointed that he's not Poppy's father and all this other stuff, I was just like, this feels so disjointed. Like it just felt really, really disjointed. And then when he's back in the TARDIS, is visited by Jodie Whittaker, who is the Doctor. I don't know what Doctor number.
13.
13. Thank you. I will eventually learn this. Eventually, not today. But they're having a conversation amongst each other. She has kind of given him that pep talk, and he's like, I don't want to do this alone, sort of thing. And then he opens the doors of the TARDIS, and you see Joy, right? The star from the holiday special, right? He's like, I'm never alone. You're always there, or whatever. And then you start seeing him regenerate. And it's like, but why does he regenerate? Like, what has caused him to regenerate this time, right? I mean, is there really ever a clear explanation as to why the Doctor will regenerate at any given moment? And again, for me, it just started feeling a little disjointed.
Yes, there is ways. There is a reason why. And it's kind of what took out 9 as well. It's the time vortex, and it's alternate. It's the power that he had to use with the TARDIS and the time vortex to alter and splinter that reality that way is what killed him. Because that's the same thing that happened with 9. Because Rose looked into the time vortex. That caused her to be possessed by Bad Wolf, and because of that, he took that energy from her to save Rose's life, and that killed 9. So it's kind of anything involving that much power and tapping into the time vortex like that is going
Got
to
it.
cause a regeneration.
Okay.
Other Doctors have been killed in other ways. I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to spoil it for if you guys ever watch it. But yeah, there's always a reason as to what leads the Doctor to be fatally wounded to regenerate. But
Sad.
and I did really enjoy seeing 13 again because she was wonderful, and I do think it was a little. I do like that they canonized because a lot of people shipped 13 and Yasmin. She was a companion for 13's entire run, and they they always had chemistry, and there was very interesting things. And Yaz does actually admit that she does have feelings for the Doctor, and the Doctor is basically like, I can't really give you a solid relationship in time. Like, I just can't really give that to people, really, ever. And stuff like that, because it always ends up badly and such. And uh, so I thought it was very, very nice that they kind of canonized that when because 15 says, Doctor, I love you. And she's like, we don't really say that. I should say that to Yaz. And it's like, and he does say, you never do, which, because she never did. So that is kind of like cementing it that in time that she is never going to actually tell it to her. But it confirmed it for those who ship it. So that was kind of neat. But I love seeing 13.
Is there anything else from the Reality War, the finale, that y'all want to talk about?
Where's the Ronnie's TARDIS? She has one. Where is it? I need to know. Because the Master and the Ronnie also have TARDISes, but theirs still have the chameleon circuit, so they don't look like a police box. That's unique to the Doctor's TARDIS. But where's hers? And why didn't the Ronnie just go there, like Mrs. Flood's Ronnie? Why didn't she just go there?
Also, why is it that the TARDIS was like at the very peak of the Bone Palace? Like, that was very curious. Like, why? Like, did it play a part in creating this whole situation, or I don't know, just curious about that.
She was held hostage, honestly. I don't know. Like, that's how I think of it, because we find out that Desiderium and Conrad's, thank you, my kitty cat just brought me a toy.
Aw.
It's her favorite toy, so thank you. Thank you, baby. Desiderium and Conrad's room is actually the TARDIS. So
oh, that's right.
That's kind of, but why? Why was that important? Why was that necessary? Who knows? But we just know that the Ronnie needed some place to put sexy at for the entire episode, and that's where they decided to do that. Or maybe that they thought that would be the safest place for Desiderium. I don't have a further explanation of that, but if that's the case, why didn't they just use the Ronnie? Like, I just
yeah,
because that's how she's been getting to all of the places that the Doctor's getting, because she's going to, that's like Mrs. Flood doesn't just teleport. She has her own TARDIS, or she
Yeah.
did in the 80s and 90s. She had her own TARDIS. So it's like,
Oh.
did something happen to her TARDIS, and is she now using a vortex manipulator like other characters we've seen? Because we've seen Jack Harkness,
Mm.
River Song, and Rogue have all used vortex manipulators. So
Mhm.
that's me. So I want to know where it is.
Okay. And finally, what do we think is next for Doctor Who? Now, we do know that there's a spin-off show coming to Disney Plus. It is called The War Between the Land and the Sea. I watched the trailer today. Amber shared it with us. And the only character I recognized from that trailer was Kate from Unit. So it's a spin-off show. Amber, what do you know about this spin-off show?
That's kind of it.
That's
That's all
it.
I really know. I know that I think there are also rumors that they're going to do a spinoff with the Fugitive Doctor, the one that we saw in um, The Story in the Engine.
Ah.
There's also thoughts that they're going to have a spinoff as well.
Mhm.
She's the Fugitive Doctor, so she's actually timeline-wise supposed to take place before the first Doctor, but she was introduced during 13's run. So
Huh.
depending on the lineup, people put her in different weird places. But um she there's theories that there's going to be a spinoff with her. I don't know if that they think if that she's going to have her own, or if she's going to be somehow involved with the war between the land and the sea. But I'm excited about it. I know it's all based on Earth and stuff like that, which is going to be exciting. And a lot of people are very, very thrilled with it. I think the trailer looks amazing, but I don't know anything other than Kate's in it. I think Mel is in it as well.
Okay.
But that's all I know, and I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, and it seems like Series 16 Season 3 is not gonna happen anytime soon from
Mm.
yeah.
Not to
I'd have
our
been
knowledge, because Disney still hasn't. They lost Ncuti because
Right.
they didn't confirm for seasons 3 and onward, but
Mhm.
they still haven't.
Yeah.
The season's been over for a couple weeks now, and they still haven't confirmed. So
of course.
And I may have said that wrong because would it be Series 16 or would it because I guess the series denotes the Doctor, correct?
no,
No. Okay. So it would still be Series 15 then.
yeah, because Ninth Doctor was season 1, and then like season
Gotcha.
uh
Okay.
2 and 3 is 10th Doctor, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It just kind of worked out that the end of the 13th season was the 13th Doctor, but she had 2 seasons.
Okay.
So she was season 12 and 13. So it's
Okay.
kind of goofy, silly like that. It just timeline worked out that way. That
Tiny
when
whiny.
we were starting season 14, we were starting with the 15th Doctor, because
Mhm.
yeah. So this is technically, we are wrapping up the 15th season.
Okay. Gotcha. I should note that
It's not
from
confusing at all.
season 1 that we reviewed last year, there was an
Mhm.
episode called Dot and Bubble. The reason why I bring this up is because one of the actors in that show has been cast in the title of he's the starring role in the DC movie Clayface, which I think Amber might care about because not only is this actor from Doctor Who, but it's written by Mike Flanagan and it's coming out,
Oh!
I believe it's like going to be a Halloween of 2026 or maybe 2027. Anyway, it's a body horror film about the Batman character Clayface.
Hell
No,
yeah.
yeah. So the actor's name is Tom Reese Harries. He played Ricky September in Dot and Bubble. He was
Oh,
like the popular guy who,
yeah.
yeah. So he's going to play Clayface in the DC Studios DCU version of Clayface. So
I didn't know about that. That's
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. So yeah. So some Mike Flanagan Doctor Who stuff
Yeah.
smashed into superhero world that Brittany and I are always talking about. So
For those who don't know, I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan. Honestly, I can talk for hours, and I have,
mhm,
about my love of Mike Flanagan. I love all of his work,
yeah,
and I didn't know about that. I still have to see Life of Chuck. That just came out,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I still want to see that. But that I didn't know that he was working on that. That's exciting.
Yeah, very cool stuff. So, we will no doubt be talking about Clayface whenever that drops. There's other DC stuff to get to before that. But I guess as we wrap up here, let's final thoughts on the season, right? So, Brittany, I'll let you start. Final thoughts overall for this season of Doctor Who.
I enjoyed this season very much so. Almost all the way up until that finale, because like I said, it started losing me. But you know what? That it seems to be a consensus across the board that it lost people, and that's good, because for Justin and I, who are very new to Doctor Who in general, it's like, oh God, we're really missing something here. There's something that's so plain and apparent that all these other Whovians understand, but we don't. But apparently not. We're all on even playing field, and I love it. It's fantastic. Yes. Anyway, that being said, I really did enjoy not only just the season, but the first season with the 15th Doctor. I am very sad to see his departure. Damn you, Disney, for taking forever in what all that you do. Anyway, I'm very interested to see if any of Amber's theories will come into fruition whenever we get Rose and her adaptation of either being the Doctor or being Bad Wolf. Yeah, so that would be kind of fun to see that happen, especially Amber taking the name Bad Wolf as her display name here on our pod. But I've enjoyed watching Doctor Who. I also have learned not to discuss Doctor Who in front of George, because 9 times out of 10 he is going to probably spoil the heck out of the storyline. So that being said, no, this has been a fun pod to do. I've enjoyed hearing Amber's theories and her explanations, and then also hearing from our audience too about what they think about Doctor Who. If you haven't watched any Doctor Who, again, even level playing field, guys, because we know nothing. So yeah, it's been a fun run.
Yeah, Amber, final thoughts on the season.
I completely agree with our newest commenter, who that it started well and we lost Belinda's character in the end. Ncuti was just felt like a waste of potential. I completely agree. Both of them were a complete waste of potential. I am heartbroken, and I do like, the only way I'm kind of coping with this is the fact that Mrs. Flood got away. So we may get the Ronnie still. Hopefully she has the tooth of the master. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just a master girly waiting for the master to return. And then I'm really, really upset that I don't think that this is going to result in Rogue ever getting rescued from the super ultra hell where he landed. Because
So
I was really upset that they brought him back, and then Shuti's regenerating. And if Shuti's regenerating, then probably not going to go back with Rogue.
probably not.
Probably not. So that's really upsetting. Like, you alter reality to get a woman to have a child that she didn't consent to. But she was a total okay. Also, she was like, again, a little bit of a side note. She called out the Doctor in the first episode about how she was not okay with him taking her DNA without her consent, and then she lets him do it to Poppy.
Yep, I thought the exact same thing.
I have
bothered the mess out of me.
But I don't know. Whatever. I'm very, very, very upset. I'm very disappointed and sad that Ncuti again, like I said, has to share his information, his bigeneration with both David Tennant and now Billie Piper. I'm heartbroken. I can only hope that this is actually Bad Wolf and not a new incarnation of the Doctor, because talk about not getting over your ex. But yeah, and we actually did not forget about the war between the land and the sea. We actually did talk about that a few minutes ago. It's not Doctor, but it is in the Doctor Who related things like the two. So it might. We don't know. I don't know, other than it has Kate. It might have Mel in it. I'm very, very excited for it, and I guess we will have to wait and see.
Yes, we will. And as far as my thoughts, I feel like this is kind of a transitional season for the show. Now, I don't have enough experience or knowledge of Doctor Who to maybe fully state that, but I feel like it's kind of in a similar spot with the MCU, because you have something that's so it's so like there's so much to it, right? It's hard to find a jumping in point, and we thought we found that with the new Doctor, but clearly they have other plans, and so we're kind of in a wait and see mode, like Amber said, to see what's going to happen. And I feel like that the next season will have to kind of start to clarify what happened in this season, and then point
For
in a new
sure.
direction, and
Yeah.
have a stronger end to the season. I like season one much more than I liked season two. I even liked the first half of season one more than season two, just because I didn't know all the terms and all the stuff they were throwing at us. Like, it was like machine gun fire. And I'm just like, what's going on? I'm trying to duck and bob and weave and everything. And it was a lot of information for me to take.
Yeah.
So I feel like season two, or the next season, season three, or whatever it's going to be called, will hopefully have a stronger plan with also a plan for the future, because this is such a crazy long running show that I don't think there's like really any end in sight, probably. And so that's why it's hard to kind of keep it going. Is probably something they
Mhm.
run into every few years, where it's like, we got to figure out what's the next 5 years of Doctor Who. I think this season was a season where it's like, we have enough to get through the season, but in the off season, we have to figure out what our plan is for the next 5 years. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
just my
because
guess. Yeah.
like I mentioned, it's the shortest run of any Doctor that we have seen to this point, other than
Right.
8. So it's like really, I mean, it's just really upsetting because I mean, the Ninth Doctor also, Christopher Eccleston also had only 1 season, but that was back when seasons had like 20 something episodes. So he only had these small little clips, and there's only, yeah, like 16 episodes, and then the giggle. So yeah. And also, yeah, with season 1 and 2 shot back to back, they know what worked and what didn't. Reset looks likely, yeah. And yeah, we are gonna get the Christmas special. That's kind of a given for Doctor Who, usually. And yeah, it dead in the water, like you said. We don't really know what's going to go on. I am hoping that this Christmas special is going to be with Billy Piper. I hope it's going to be some Bad Wolf shenanigans. I talked about that at the beginning of this episode. Uh, but I hope it's something to do with that, and that's because Billie Piper's an amazing actress. I love her, and Rose is one of my favorite characters ever in Doctor Who, and I love her to death. But I think somebody else needs to fit that mantle, and I just don't think that people are very comfortable with that anymore, because they keep trying to like nostalgia bait us with David Tennant and
Mhm.
such. But we yeah, that's the whole point of Doctor Who. Yeah, we get attached to this doctor, but then we can that just makes us love and appreciate the next doctor that we see.
Bring back Matt Smith. I'd love to see him as the Doctor, and I only say that knowing what's going to happen to one of his characters in a major show that's coming up soon.
Oh, well, don't spoil it for me.
I'm not
Yeah,
spoiling anything for you.
spoilers.
I'm not spoiling
Um,
anything for you. I'm just saying he will be available.
you can watch Eleven's
That's
run if you want.
that's
Eleven's
kind
run
of a
was
spoiler.
amazing.
Is it though?
No, it's okay.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit. But
Yeah.
you can watch Eleven's run. I know that you would like it, but I would be devastated if you just started with 11 and you skipped 9 and 10. But um, yeah, it doesn't. I agree. It doesn't make sense about Billy Piper. But again, I'm hoping it's just Bad Wolf shenanigans, like with the moment in the 50th anniversary. I'm hoping it's Bad Wolf shenanigans. But I don't, because of how Matt Smith has spoken in interviews, I don't think he's good plans on ever coming back. If he does, it'll probably just be in like a 50th anniversary kind of thing. Like, because in the 50th anniversary, David Tennant came back, and then we also got John Hurt as the War Doctor. So that was 3 doctors in one episode. He would probably come back for something like that.
I mean, he had a small
But
cameo in the finale, so that was fun.
exactly. So he would probably, I don't know, come like if he would, I can see him doing that, but I don't see him coming back as a regeneration itself.
Yeah.
Because I think the curator in the 50th anniversary mentioning that they're going to visit familiar faces obviously was to lead to Peter Capaldi, because he was in Doctor Who before playing the 12th Doctor. But because because he was already cast and they're already filming for the 12th Doctor when they filmed the 50th anniversary. So that was definitely a hint towards that.
Mhm.
But I think that that's just kind of how they're going to utilize. Again, I'm just hoping it's Bad Wolf shenanigans because there was during the regeneration there was that random shot where it showed the TARDIS console.
Mhm.
So it showed that, and during the regeneration, like he is already regenerating and bursting with light, and then it shows the console. I think it's Bad Wolf shenanigans, but that is.
We shall see. And once we
Love
see,
that.
we will be back to talk about it. So, you know what we thought about Doctor Who season 2? We want to know what you thought about it. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Well, as always, we invite everyone to join us for our live chats here on YouTube. We appreciate everyone who has joined us for both parts of Doctor Who, as well as all of our other content that we put out here, y'all. We have more content coming your way this summer. Obviously, Justin, big fan of Superman, as you can see from his
Big
attire.
fan. Yep.
We will definitely be discussing that. I will not, because I will not be here for it, sadly. I will be out in the waters. But anyway, so subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so
You're not
already.
becoming Aquaman though, right? Like you're going on a vacation. That's what you're saying.
I mean,
She's participating in the war between the land and the sea.
Oh, there we go.
ooh,
Okay.
there we go. That's exactly what I'm going to do over on Disney. That being said, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on the road to 500. At present time, we are at 452 subscribers. So help make that goal of 500 happen by clicking that subscribe button. Also click the like and notification buttons while you're at it. Really helps out our channel, and it will let you know the next time we go live, which will be, as of
Tomorrow
recording
night.
time, tomorrow night
Tomorrow
to
night,
discuss Batman.
we're doing a combo pod. The 20th anniversary. First of all, the 30th anniversary of Batman Forever and the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins. So two seminal Batman movies, 10 years apart. We're celebrating the anniversaries tomorrow night. So please join us for that. Also this week, we'll be talking about the first 3 episodes of Ironheart, the new Disney Plus series, the new Marvel Cinematic Universe series on Disney Plus. They're dropping the first 3 episodes on Tuesday night, the 24th. So we'll be back Wednesday to discuss those 3. Then the following week, they're dropping the final 3. So it's only a 6-episode season.
Yep.
We're going to knock out all 6 episodes in 2 pods. So join us the next couple weeks for Ironheart, and tomorrow, the Batman. Not the Batman, not the Robert
Not
Pattinson
the Batman.
Batman.
That's
the
a whole other
Batmans.
franchise.
Yeah. I mean, it's
God.
it's Batman, but yeah, Val Kilmer's Batman and Christian Bale's first Batman movie. So we'll be back tomorrow night. So thanks, Brittany, for all that. And of course, thanks to Amber for joining us, aka Bad Wolf. And if Amber's on with us sometimes. We love it when she joins us, but she has her own stuff. And so Amber, please plug away.
Thank you. I also have my own YouTube channel called All of Amber's Wands, and that will be linked down below if you are watching the live or are watching it after the live. It will be linked down there. That is also my Instagram and TikTok and Tumblr username is allofambers.wands, and it is a study of wands and wand lore in the wizarding world. I go into the cultural, symbolic, and historical meaning of the woods that the wands are made out of, as well as the magical beast that the core is made from, and I compare that to the personality of the character who owns the wand in both Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and outside of those. I also collect wands, but as you can see from this podcast, I love a bunch of other things. I am just a fangirl at heart for a plethora of shows and movies and books. So if you want to talk to me, Fleeson, you and I have a lot to discuss. I know you came near the end of the pod, so if you want, you can message me on Instagram, TikTok, on YouTube, whichever you prefer, and we can chat about those things. But that's definitely where you go to reach me. I have a lot to say all the time. I talk a lot. Brittany can attest to this, but I am just a fangirl at heart. But my channel is All of Amber's at Wands, where I talk about wands.
Yeah, and you do that very well. So it's always a pleasure for you to join us. So thanks again, Amber. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Brittany. So for Amber and for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night.